Kay Parker, A Journey from Earthly Desire to Spiritual Awakening. Kay Parker's story is one of transformation, a quiet rebellion against the expectations of her time, and a lifelong search for meaning in a world that often divided sensuality from spirituality. Born on August 28, 1944, in Birmingham, England, Kay Rebecca Taylor grew up in a conservative post-war household where modesty, discipline, and propriety were deeply valued. Like many children of that generation, she was taught to follow the rules, to stay within boundaries, to silence questions that did not have clear answers. Yet beneath that surface, Kay carried an unusual sensitivity. Even in her youth, she felt drawn to questions of purpose, energy, and the unseen dimensions of human experience. She sensed that life held layers far beyond what could be seen or spoken aloud. These quiet curiosities would one day shape everything she became. In her early 20s, Kay left England for the United States, joining a wave of young Europeans drawn by America's promise of reinvention. Settling in California, she encountered a culture radically different from her British upbringing. Where restraint had once defined her world, freedom now surrounded her. California in the 1970s was alive with experimentation, not only in film and art, but in consciousness itself. Meditation, holistic healing, and metaphysical philosophy were entering the mainstream. Kay explored business ventures, personal growth movements, and early New Age teachings. She attended seminars, studied energy work, and quietly laid the foundation for the spiritual life that would later define her second act. Her entry into the adult film industry was, by her own account, unexpected. In the mid-1970s, she befriended John Leslie, a prominent figure in the industry, who encouraged her to explore acting. At first, Kay accepted small, non-sexual roles. She wanted to understand the medium without crossing her own boundaries. But something unusual happened. Her natural grace, warmth, and maturity stood out immediately. In an industry dominated by youth, Kay brought calm, intelligence, and emotional presence. Audiences responded not just to her appearance, but to the humanity she conveyed on screen. As her confidence grew, her roles expanded. When she eventually accepted more intimate performances, she carried them with dignity and self-awareness. Long before terms like MILF or cougar entered popular culture, Kay Parker embodied the archetype of the mature, nurturing woman, sensual yet emotionally grounded, erotic yet deeply human. Her defining moment arrived in 1980 with the film Taboo. In the role of Barbara Scott, Kay portrayed a mother entangled in a forbidden relationship with her son. The subject matter was controversial, unsettling, and widely debated. But rather than treating the role as provocation, Kay approached it as psychological drama. She infused the character with guilt, tenderness, conflict, and emotional realism. Taboo became more than a film. It became a cultural artifact. At a time when Western society was grappling with repression, morality, and shame, the film held up an uncomfortable mirror. Kay Parker's performance gave it gravity, elevating it beyond its genre and turning it into one of the most discussed works of the era. Throughout the 1980s, Kay Parker remained a rare presence in adult cinema. She brought elegance to an industry of extremes. Her performances suggested that desire could coexist with tenderness, and that sexuality could express vulnerability rather than domination. Film historians later compared her screen persona to classic dramatic actresses, women whose power came from nuance rather than excess. Kay's work hinted at what adult cinema might have been if storytelling and emotional truth had remained central. By the late 1980s, the industry was changing. The rise of video and faster, more explicit productions left little space for narrative or depth. For Kay, the shift felt empty. Once again, she turned inward. She stepped away from the camera and returned to the spiritual interests she had explored decades earlier. What followed was a profound awakening. Kay trained in Reiki, meditation, and energy healing. She studied Eastern philosophies, theosophy, and New Age spiritual frameworks. Reinventing herself as a metaphysical counselor, she faced skepticism. Many struggled to reconcile her past with her present, but Kay remained steady. Her message was simple and unwavering: transformation is possible for everyone. In 2001, she published her autobiography, Taboo, Sacred, Don't Touch. The book was not a confession, but a reflection. She wrote openly about shame, self-acceptance, sexuality, and spirituality, offering readers a roadmap toward integration rather than denial. The memoir resonated deeply. For many, it became less about her fame and more about their own unresolved journeys. In her later years, Kay Parker continued teaching, counseling, and speaking about healing. She believed true growth begins when the past is no longer rejected, but understood with compassion. When Kay Parker passed away on October 14, 2022, at the age of 78, she left behind a legacy that transcended labels. She had shown that sensuality and spirituality need not exist in opposition, that identity is not fixed, and that it is never too late to evolve. In the end, Kay Parker's story is not about scandal or notoriety. It is about forgiveness, awakening, and the courage to live one's truth, even when that truth refuses to fit the mold. Her life asks a quiet, enduring question. What if the very experiences we are taught to hide are the ones meant to lead us home? If you found this journey meaningful, if Kay Parker's evolution made you pause, reflect, or see her story in a new light, then consider supporting the channel. Like the video, share it with someone who appreciates deep stories, and subscribe for more cinematic biographies that explore the hidden layers behind iconic lives. And before you go, we have already uploaded another thought-provoking video on Kay Parker titled, "What if Kay Parker had a real son?" It is an imagined exploration, a reflective scenario that asks how her life, her choices, and her legacy might look if that boundary between fiction and reality were different. If this story intrigued you, that video will take you even deeper. Don't forget to watch it. Thank you for being part of this journey.